New, much more efficient technologies are not the crackpot thinking of green zealots. These days, very hard-nosed venture capitalists are piling in with massive new investments to the tune of billions of dollars every year. These technologies are credible, proven alternatives that will save us an enormous amount of money and ward off the most devastating impacts of climate change. But I'm not pretending it's easy. The scale of the problem is enormous, and most of us won't be able to live in a place like Bedzed anytime soon. So, what else can we do? Ironically, help may come from the last place we would expect, some of the world's biggest multinationals. Last year, BP, which for decades has been draining the planet of oil, invited people to find out about their own carbon footprint. That's the amount of carbon dioxide which each of us puts into the atmosphere every year. To their astonishment, more than 400,000 people visited their website. BP's next step was to encourage customers to take more responsibility for their own carbon dioxide emissions from driving. The company calculates how much carbon dioxide is released through the use of your car. Then it asks you to offset the equivalent amount of carbon dioxide by paying a sum of money into a special fund that invests in renewable energy.
You can understand people being a bit cynical about this. What? BP lecturing us about carbon dioxide when it's them that should be in the dock? But just think it through. It's BP and all those other oil companies that produce the petrol and diesel. But we're the ones that use it. These are our emissions from our cars, not BP's. This is about shared responsibility.
The man in charge of BP's carbon offset scheme is Philip New.
What we do is buy or contribute to schemes that will either take carbon out of the atmosphere or substitute, remove carbon that would otherwise have gone into the atmosphere had this scheme not been around. So a great example would be putting in place alternative sustainable energy sources in, for example, India, wind farms and such like. This is not intended to be a simple way of letting people get off the hook and avoid their responsibilities when they drive around. This is about sustainable mobility. But in the long term, it is in our interest and our shareholders' interests, as well as the interests of everyone on the planet, that we start to think about how we can make our cities and our mobility more sustainable.
If scientists are right in their fears about the rapid onset of climate change, then it won't be long before we're living in a world with two currencies, money and carbon. But there's obviously a problem here. If the price we pay for things more accurately reflects its real cost, then won't everything get more expensive? Well, that's true. But that's where technology comes into it, and the potential for serious technology breakthroughs.
Today's economy is still scandalously inefficient in its use of energy, water and raw materials. Yet the technologies we need already exist, and with massive new investment they will become both more efficient and cheaper. And that's where we come to the role of government.
There are roughly 22.5 million washing machines in the UK, between them performing about 6 billion washes every year. Now, an inefficient washing machine uses around 100 litres per wash, an efficient one around 45 litres. So simply moving over from inefficient washing machines to efficient washing machines would save more than half of the 585 billion litres of water that we use in the UK every year just to wash our clothes. So shouldn't EU governments get this sorted out? Instead of relying on a few green consumers, why don't they impose minimum efficiency standards that all manufacturers would have to meet? That's what some people call choice editing, limiting the range of choices available to us so that we can't get our hands on the kind of inefficient, wasteful machines that are still causing such environmental damage today.
But so far, governments the world over have been pathetically poor at driving the kind of efficiency revolution that's required. Could it be that they're still in thrall to the old idea of consumerism?
The single most important objective of almost every government today is to maximize economic growth. And politicians know that one of the easiest ways to expand the economy is to persuade people to spend more, consume more, regardless of how deep into debt that gets them. And we're already one of the most indebted nations on earth. So the people on whom we depend most for some alternative, long-term vision are the ones who are most addicted to this short-term consumer fix. And their pursuit of economic growth, as we know it today, reinforces the worst aspects in us, an obsessive desire to consume more in an endless but inevitably forlorn quest for a better life.
But that better life will be found only if we turn our backs on today's frenetic, fast-lane consumerism. We need to shift the focus away from growth as such onto personal well-being and social cohesion. We should focus on reinforcing people's deep sense of community and civic responsibility, on promoting a radically different balance between home and work life. We work longer hours than any other country in Europe, and while it makes us better off theoretically, it doesn't make us any happier. We need to put personal fulfillment and well-being before money and self-interest, whilst protecting our children from crass commercial exploitation.
What we're talking about here is a vision of a completely different world. It's a combination of two things: a different kind of politics of well-being and happiness rather than of economic growth, and a different kind of consumerism, living better by consuming less, however strange that may sound. It's only that combination which will get us out of today's environmental and social crises. Consumerism reborn, as it were, for a fairer, more sustainable world, ultimately for a more contented world.